If you've ever discussed film with me, a few of my biases may become clear, such as my love of slow, introspective films that stick in my head for months, and my distaste for massive epics. But among those assorted fun facts, one thing rings clear: I care a lot about directors. I want to know whose brain I'm going to occupy for the next 120-ish minutes, and among the roster of filmmakers I love, the one I would be most apt to call my favorite is Gaspar Noé. But for every filmmaker I love is one that I really don't. And I would say the quote-unquote Black Lodge version of Gaspar Noé is none other than Christopher Nolan. So I wanted to take the time with this essay to compare and contrast two modern cinematic icons. To start this essay in a good mood, I'll give a brief overview of Gaspar Noé for those untainted by his beautiful filth. Gaspar's films are known for strobing lights, pervasive sex and drug use, sickening camera work, and even more sickening subject matter. Spread between his current 6 feature-length films, I Stand Alone, Irreversible, Enter the Void, Love, Climax, and his latest film, Vortex. Gaspar Noé isn't as interested in telling a story as he is in crafting an experience, and almost never a pleasant one. He may openly draw influence from more controversial films like I Am Cuba, Un Chien Andalou, and Angst, but to call his films original is an understatement. Teaming up with his go-to director of photography, Benoit Zebi, and his go-to writing partner of Hard Drugs, Noé creates some of the most unique films I have ever seen. His films can be at times nearly impossible to watch due to their extreme presentation. Enter the Void's blinking first-person perspective, Vortex's split-screen depiction of memory loss, and of course the uses of sound frequencies so low they are scientifically proven to cause nausea in Irreversible. Suffice it to say, his films aren't for everyone. But this isn't just an essay on Gaspar Noé, because I found many of the reasons I love Noé's films are the same reasons I often hate the works of Christopher Nolan. Nolan's films, from the monumental Inception to the forgettable Tenet, are all about spectacle. He gives you massive stories with jaw-dropping visuals, almost all of which is accompanied by an ear-splittingly loud score by Hans Zimmer. And I have to admit, it can be amazing. I'll never forget when the camera tilts up to reveal the scale of the wave about to crash into our heroes in Interstellar, or the iconic hallway fight from Inception. But in between those unforgettable scenes, I have found films that are ultimately pretty bland. Nolan doesn't really write characters. He prefers to focus on complicated stories with large ideas, and he populates those stories with blank audience surrogates who alternate between hypercapability and being ignorant tools for exposition. Nolan draws influence from loads of different films, from sci-fi classics like 2001: A Space Odyssey to the more recent and supremely underrated Paprika, and to his credit, he always makes a film truly his own. His influences are clear, but they never intrude on his specific directorial style, and I think it's this confidence that gives him such a fan base. Nolan's films may fall short when you try to pick them apart, but they're assertive enough to not let the audience question what they're watching while they watch it. One of the main things Nolan and Noé have in common is that their films strive for immersion. The films, through many different means, tries to seize your senses, only releasing you once the story has run its true course. Where I think Nolan falls flat is in how complex his stories often are. Take his newest film, Tenet, for example. I saw the film in theaters, and while that was a super fun experience, the film left my mind within under a week because I had no clue it actually happened. Now, a film doesn't have to fully make sense to be good. The works of Charlie Kaufman or Andrei Tarkovsky prove that a story can resonate subconsciously without making conscious sense, but they often do so by having simple stories, and the complications come in how that story is told. The ambiguity of Stalker's Zone or the disorienting time jumps in Synecdoche, New York work to complicate what's otherwise a pretty simple story, and they use this complication to add to the themes and help the film last far beyond its meager runtime. Most of Nolan's films have both complicated stories with lots of twists and nuanced interpersonal relationships, and complex storytelling, typically something to do with time. Tenet has time inversion, Dunkirk uses temporal ambiguity, and Memento flips between dual timelines. His films are dense to say the least, but I never care to peel back the layers because of how little I care about the characters. He tries to immerse me, but I typically leave his films bored and exhausted. They may look beautiful with some great editing and performances, but his films have a pervasively hollow feeling. Noé's writing equally sidelines characters, and that can definitely result in a lesser experience, which was the case with his 2015 film, Love. And his storytelling may be daunting on the surface, but where Noé differs is that his films aren't trying to communicate a clear message. The point of a Gaspar Noé film is the experience of watching it, and what does the shock and discomfort you get from it say about you as a person. His films are without a doubt shallow, but you aren't meant to peel back the layers of his films. The films are meant to act as a means of drastic self-reflection. Let's take, for example, Gaspar's 2002 breakout hit Irreversible. The film follows two men seeking revenge for the brutal rape and murder of Monica Bellucci's character, Alex. But the story isn't what made the film famous. It stayed in conversation for its unique framing device that has the events of the story playing in reverse order. Beginning with brutal violence and ending with serenity, Irreversible builds a feeling of meaningless inevitability. The many horrible acts portrayed in the film give the ending an extremely eerie tone, and it helps to cement the film's main thesis: time destroys everything. And a similar narrative device is used in Christopher Nolan's film Memento, released just 2 years before Irreversible. Memento follows Leonard Shelby, played by Guy Pearce, as a man seeking revenge for the alleged rape and murder of his wife. But as with Irreversible, the story isn't what people remember, it's the use of dual timelines, one in black and white running forward and another in color running backwards. We see essentially the same act of violent revenge bookend the film as the two timelines reach their respective ends, and this is also used to reinforce the main theme of the film as spoken by Guy Pearce's character.
And memories can be distorted. They're just an interpretation, they're not a record.
My main issue with Memento is it ends up feeling more repetitive than anything else, and with Nolan's trademark dead wife audience surrogate as our lead, I feel no connection to any of the acts on screen. Irreversible is no perfect film, but the leads feel so expressive and alive. I may disagree with almost everything they do, but Noé never tries to make the case that their actions are correct. Instead, he gives us an extreme depiction of masculine rage, one that just waits for an excuse to let loose and destroy everything around it. So we've established some of their similarities, for better or for worse, but why I so drastically prefer Noé to Nolan is primarily staying power. Gaspar's writing may be surface level, but it adds to the viscerally unique experience of watching one of his films. Nolan's stories are too complex to be completely immersive, but don't have enough heart to stay in my mind past a day or two. Gaspar may create forgettable stories, but he does so to clear the way for unforgettable and immersive events. I can remember exactly where I was, both physically and mentally, the first time I watched Enter the Void. I remember what I was eating and promptly threw up when I watched Irreversible, and I think it's the aftershock that really makes a film. I may love it once I exit the theater, but it takes a truly great film to stay with me far beyond that one screening. And while I don't think Noé makes perfect or sometimes even good films, I have yet to ever forget watching one of them. And if that isn't remarkable, then I don't know what is.